Alrighty, here we go. What's going on? Logan Skis here, and it's a Sunday afternoon. I'm coming back onto YouTube for another media production sprint. I've taken a little bit of a break, enjoyed that way too much, being disconnected from putting out content, from consuming content. It's nice to be in the real, but I've been studying. I haven't been idle. I've been studying a lot, working a lot, and I'm coming to you today with a video that's going to break down what it means to build a business in the metaverse. And before I do that, I gotta have a satire joke because a lot of times you come into business related videos and stuff, and you hear this guy, he says something like this. He's like, okay, I'm going to teach you the number one secret to scaling your ads. And he'll go something like this. The number one secret is you take an ad and then you push it to a VSL, and he does something super cheesy like this, right? And then he'll do a stick figure, and then he'll walk you through that and say, click the link below and I'll give you this further stick figure. And I'll just stop it right there. I haven't ever had a gift for comedy. I'm just going to say that it's literally 2021 right now, and I see a lot of people on YouTube, especially in like the business, marketing, systems, process segment, literally doing stuff that looks like it's Pac-Man, and it looks like they did it on a computer like this. So today's video is not going to be anything like this, like you're going to see it in other places. So let's just get started with some of the stuff I got staged for you. Now this video is definitely not going to be for you if you're one of those people that doesn't like to understand, doesn't like to learn, and just wants to kind of shoot first, ask questions later. Go ahead and just go somewhere else if that's you. This video is for those seekers, visionaries, the people who are ambitious in their knowledge and are skeptical with first glance. So I'm going to just share with you some of the stuff that I've learned, some of the stuff I'm learning. This is an information-rich video. If you're interested in any of this, go ahead and drop a comment below. I'm happy to share more. Ultimately, if you want to just skip to the end, the gist is I'm building all of this in a game board called the Venture Map. The Venture Map helps business owners of companies, small and large, clarify their operations and scale systems in their business. If you want a free copy of this, click the link below. Just let me know where to send it. It's all yours. Also, you can book a hour-long Zoom session with me as an onboarding workshop. I'll connect with you for free, help you set this up for yourself. But that's just for my impatient folks, the ADD crowd out there. So that's where we're going. If you're ready to buckle up and go through the story, let's do it. So there's this thing called the Metaverse. You may have heard people talking about it. I, by no means, am an expert in the Metaverse, but I do have some information to share with you. So the Metaverse is defined by Wikipedia is a collective virtual shared space. It's created by the convergence of virtually enhanced physical reality and physically persistent virtual space. So we can go into more detail on that. You can go ahead and pause the video and read it if you want. But one of the things that comes to mind for me when I think of the Metaverse is Ready Player One, right? It kind of seems like it would be something like this. Um, but it's not so far fetched. It doesn't have to be Steven Spielberg. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, just was talking about this a while back, and they've said that they want Facebook to be a metaverse company. One of the things I pulled out of this speech, he says, the defining quality of the metaverse presence is the feeling that you're really there with another person or in another place. Creating avatars and digital objects are going to be central to how we express ourselves. That's really interesting. Wired magazine called it the mirror world. There's all sorts of different stuff. Maybe you think of something like spatial.io. This is a real thing. You have a virtual workspace. Some people are there. They're using augmented reality or mixed reality goggles, and it's projecting digital assets into a physical space like this. You can see they got digital post-it notes and pictures and drawings on their wall. And that's cool. That's cool, right? But again, just to take us back to where we started, you've literally got a lot of prominent influencers, prominent YouTubers, prominent content creators today that are operating in a paradigm that kind of looks and feels like this. A lot of business owners, for sure, are operating in the Google Docs and Sheets paradigm. Even the Asanas of the world and the Airtables of the world kind of bring you into this siloed, fragmented paradigm, and we can talk about that later. But how do we get to, how do we reconcile this paradox, this seeming paradox where things seem so old school, so far away from this metaverse concept, but every day the stuff that we do at work, even if you're a creative, whether you're doing working in Adobe, or uh, you're producing media, or you're producing business cloud, if you're on the strategic side, it typically boils down to spreadsheets, documents, PowerPoints, emails, project management software, team communications, and stuff like that. But it doesn't. There is a real tangible step forward. And now this is not sponsored by any means. I just am sharing what I use. So the next step forward is Miro, and there's a whole industry of these visual collaboration companies out there, these platforms. I prefer Miro. I think they're the best. It integrates directly with Zoom, so most individuals, regardless of generation, have gotten their minds around using Zoom on a regular basis. At least the knowledge working professions in the last 2 years with COVID and all of that. But it can be, you hear Zoom fatigue. It can be really draining to just be on Zoom all the time, and then using Slack for communications, email, project management stuff like Asana, Monday.com. It can be just difficult because there's so much. Things are so spread out. What's beautiful about Miro is it brings everything into one place. It's a virtual collaborative workspace where people can actually come together live. You can see the little mouse, cursors moving around. So this is a spatial dimension for the business, and it's where you can host all of your stuff. Now it is white, kind of like where that board I started with earlier, just blank. That's really what it is, basically. They do have tons of templates, right? I'll show you some templates here. You just got templates upon templates. They've got this thing called the Miroverse. I pulled a screenshot in. So all these big companies and small consultants alike are posting tons of different templates. So you don't really have to start from scratch, so to speak. That's a real great step forward, and it gets away from that old stick figure paradigm, that Pac-Man paradigm we were looking at earlier, where these guys are kind of existing. But before I go any further, I just want to introduce myself again. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, this is the first time we're kind of connecting. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Logan Skis, and I'm a Marine veteran. I served in the infantry for 4 years. I did 2 deployments to Afghanistan. This is me here. This is my buddy Doc Simpson. He's a corpsman. He's 6'5", and it's exactly the kind of guy that you want on your team in case you fall into harm's way. If you're out there, Doc, sending you my love and respect. So I had the privilege of serving the Marine Corps. Here's me in 249 SAW machine gun, and on both of my deployments to Afghanistan, as well as the training leading up to it, we used a number of different training approaches and tools and all of these things that were developed by the Marine Corps and the U.S. military over many, many years. One of them is called a terrain model. And we're going to break terrain models down in a second, but it's a very basic thing. I bring this picture in here to demonstrate a terrain model. You see these guys kind of muddy, they're in the woods, there's some spray painted rocks, you got this e-tool shovel here, but they're doing something specific, and this is a foundational tool. I'm talking level 1 foundational tool. And what it does is it visually aligns teams. It brings clarity. It depicts a space of operations. And it's something that we used for operational success pretty much every single patrol, every operation we went on that was significant. Now, when I got out of the military, I was working as a personal trainer. I actually got certified as a physical training coordinator while I was still in the Corps. I've loved fitness since I was in high school, and got certified, started working as a trainer. Here's me doing the weightlifting thing. I've enjoyed a career in the personal training world for almost 9 years. It's been a real privilege to train clients one-on-one. But as I began scaling away from just doing one-on-one training alone and working on a business, working on my personal training business, supporting multiple gyms as a business development director, and working to just understand the world beyond one-to-one service providing. It began to feel a little bit overwhelming, right? Because I got back into that scenario that all those YouTube gurus are trying to describe, which is your customer acquisition, conversion, fulfillment, or marketing and advertising, driving traffic, building sales funnels, having a sales point, onboarding clients, retaining, getting testimonies, referrals, so many different things to manage. It was like a constellation. This is a great photo from that movie Interstellar, where he's in the Tesseract and is just very trippy, very multi-dimensional, and that's kind of how it felt for me. So I kind of was feeling like this guy, kind of not knowing what was going on for a while, a little bit, kind of weirded out in the civilian dimension, because there's just building a business was very fragmented and siloed. And another great image that is a tone setting for how I felt was this from Doctor Strange. They're running around, all the buildings are twisting up. So the difficult thing that I learned the hard way is, I guess I wanted something real simple. I wanted a terrain model, a map of the business, of the operation. And in Afghanistan, we would use things like this, right? We would depict the space. Even if it was cheap with duct tape and cardboard and little pebbles, we would all gather around. We would use a map and make this sort of a sand castle from hell kind of a thing. And we would overlay a strategy. You see, this guy's got a long pole and he's walking everybody through. Here's what's going to happen when, here's what's going to do what, all that good stuff. This is an old school tool, right? This is by no means created yesterday. This approach is very serious. I've got two grandpas. One, they both served during Vietnam in the Navy. We call them Papa, both of them actually. And Papa and his generation. This is a World War II picture, but those guys have been using spatial depictions through terrain models for decades, decades and decades. And in fact, this stretches well before World War II days. So when I say foundational, people, I mean foundational. If there's any other prior service members on here, you can back me up with a comment below. This is this doesn't have to be some cutting edge thing like you'll see in Avatar. It most of the time is very fundamental, very rudimentary, and it's something that the lowest ranking individual in the group usually can do. It's a very overlooked. And in terms of translating that into the business sector, there hasn't been something, right? If you're going to do an operation where you're raiding a village, you're going to want to see the whole thing, right? You're not going to want to just see the building. You want to see the whole picture, because it's high stakes, right? You mess up and lives are on the line. But with business, it's very high stakes as well. But it can, again, you get into this sort of trippy dimensional thing, because it's hard to map out a business, because it's not just the space. Sure, a lot of businesses have a space, but that's not the only component to it. So a lot of the times you see stuff like this going on for people that have design departments or innovation strategy groups, engineers, right? You'll see this kind of stuff, and that's great. Here's another great picture, just papers upon documents. That's really what it boils down to. Maybe you'll have some service blueprinting or customer journey wireframes, but it can be very dull compared to having a whole map, right, that really shows the whole business. And that's what I wanted for the longest period of time. I guess I wondered, how is it that we could have video games that can map out entire universes of a fictional space, a fictional area, and in such great detail and graphics, but then I'm basically boiled down to Google Docs and Asana or a Notion or something like that. And I've always wanted a venture map, a business terrain model. So that's what we've been building in my company for the past 2 years. We've been developing just that for ourselves. It's an internal tool. We've had the privilege of sharing this internal tool with a number of clients. If you've seen some of the other videos, you already know I've done some breakdowns on the logic, how we've structured this. It's a spatial and a temporal map. So it basically defines time for a business, because a lot of business is on a timeline based on the customer journey, the customer experience. when the customer journey experience begins in the awareness stage, how we build relationships with those customers, lead them to a point of conversion, sell them on the promise of our business, and then we activate them through onboarding sequences, deliver that promise, facilitate their transformation into the desired state, retain them through ongoing products and services so that relationship is extended into the long term, and elicit advocacy through a very consciously designed program where we get their testimonies and referrals and a customer for life, in other words. But it's not just time that we have to consider, and it's not just a customer we have to consider when building a business, right? That's where things can become pretty multidimensional. We also have staff, we have employees, and they're working with the customers, they're working backstage. We have processes to consider. We have uh, we have strategy to consider, marketing, advertising, campaigns. There's dozens of different platforms. So this venture map and the objective of this capability, my friends, is to be a single place to see it all. You can think of Napoleon Bonaparte back in the his empire days, and how he could sit on a hilltop looking over the entire battlefield, or maybe Alexander the Great looking at an entire map of his empire. Think of yourself as a commander, as a general, being able to look at every single piece of the business that you're running. So in one part, it's a plan. It's a series of actions. It's a order of operations to help you through design your business model through best practice. And when I say best practice, I'm not claiming to have invented any of that. If anything, I've learned a lot that I've synthesized here for myself from dozens of thought leaders, and but best practice by what to do when and how to do it, and basically how that feeds follow on steps in the equation. It's much like um, dominoes all feeding into one another, but also how we design our customer journeys, and we can break this down further and what this all looks like. Ultimately, we can come into this and work on it collaboratively. So I can bring in teammates. We can have live Zoom sessions where we're building copy, we're designing the sites, we're building out our lead generators, and we're quite literally building business collateral, simulating the business in real time. And that's huge. That really is huge. So I wanted just to connect about how I see this sort of capability in Miro. So the venture map is basically built within Miro, just like a video game being built in a game engine like Unity or Unreal. We've built the venture map inside of Miro as an engine, and it's a free platform, so you can get your own Miro account for free. You can actually get your own venture map template for free. So I'll give you a base template, a blank version of all of this, and I'll help you set it up for yourself with an onboarding session for free. You just have to click the link below, you tell me where to send it, book a time that works for both of our calendars, and we'll dive into it. Um, Anything beyond that, we've got template packs, we've got guided courses, and I can even work with you one-on-one to flesh the entire thing out for yourself. Uh, so yeah, that's a little bit of it. I guess I'll just bring us back to the beginning of where we started. Um, and next time we'll touch on a little bit of how we define a business. But ultimately, when we think of bringing a business into the metaverse, the way I see that is building out a virtual space, a persistent virtual space that's always present, and it's there for you and your colleagues to meet within. It simulates every aspect of your business, and what's more, it's a simulation. So it allows you to mitigate risk, it allows you to maximize efficiency. You build out automations through here, you identify areas to improve, areas of vulnerability, and you effectively increase your customer acquisition, improve the efficiency of your point of conversion, and increase the customer lifetime value. So it's really great to map out every single detail and visualize and simplify the complexities of the business in one domain We've leveraged a lot of best practice from business architecture, service design, of gamification, game theory, but also foundational leadership principles from the United States Marine Corps. And we really think that this capability will illuminate and clarify areas for growth. It certainly has for us and our clients. So if you want to jump on that, you know what to do. Click the link below. This is a way to start your business in the metaverse. We can mint these as NFTs, non-fungible tokens. We can secure the ownership of those NFTs through the blockchain. So, and then associate that static NFT with a project file, so it's digitally owned through all future iterations. So we basically see this as a precursor to dimensionalizing the brand. Now it is flat right now, but in time, as the spatial computing continues to evolve, this will be able to be projected on every wall in your office, and you'll be able to manipulate these objects and navigate through the board with an AI assistant. It will be an augmented reality program. So we're putting the pieces in place now in order to be prepared for that. So if you want to get ahead of the curve, you want to beat your competitors to this next stage of the internet and start building your brand in the metaverse, now is the time to begin. The next step is already here. It's in these visual collaboration platforms. This is a great way to use the visual collaboration platforms. It houses every single element of the business. If there's areas that is not visualized, it's perfect to find those because we build that into the map. So that's all the time I've got now. Thanks so much for watching. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, hit that link, grab your free venture map. Let me know when you want to connect and onboard it. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side.